Hello from my side. It is an honor to be here, and I'm very pleased that I was invited to come to this conference, especially as maybe today I'm the first CoB president since many, many years who is standing in front of you, not telling you something about financial discipline, financial stability, financial whatever problems we have had. No, I can first of all start my presentation with a big, big thank you to your entire market, because if you look on the efforts you have made during the last, let's roughly say 10 years, changes you have gone through, and you know, all the efforts to be back in line, so to say, to become one of the normal members in our Grenn Card system. It's amazing what all of you together have achieved so far, and please continue this path. It is really a story of success, because 10 years ago we had really problems, of course you all know it, with the membership of your market, of your bureau, undisciplined, you know, financial problems, troubles here and there, and all of it disappeared, and all of it is now coming back into the row, and that's fantastic. So thank you very much for your efforts. So today I can just share some news from CoB with you, whereas news are of course always, you know, we have hot topics, latest news, we have news which are already not so new, but anyhow, something to be told today. Let's come to an example. Let's think about a victim of an accident. This victim in my example, you know, is German. We have an Italian vehicle, we have a German vehicle, and the accident occurs in Russia. In the year 2000, in the year 2015, and in the year 2023, so this year. In 2000, the poor victim was most probably very desperate. Why? Because there was nothing in place for this type of victim. The victim had an accident, the victim returned, he was at home, and nothing, really nothing was there in place for him to be compensated for this accident. Yeah, of course, perhaps there was an insurer, and yes, of course, perhaps the Italian insurer could have been contacted somehow, but nobody would have taken care about his accident anyhow. In the year 2015, our poor victim was confused, because now, out of a sudden, from all sides, you know, he could have had compensation. He could have gone to a Grenn Card bureau in Russia, he could have contacted the compensation body in Germany, no problems for him. So many stakeholders, so what to do anyhow? This year the poor victim again is crying, because again there is no solution in place for him. Yes, again there could be solutions, but these solutions are complex, complicated, and most probably not doable for a victim that is not even aware of the language that is spoken in the country of the accident. So what happens? Who is responsible for these different type of scenarios, different type of situations? Of course, politics, but I would like to give out the politics today and come to the stakeholders of the so-called Grenn Card system. So what is the Grenn Card system? What does it mean, and who are the, let's say, most important stakeholders in it? First of all, UNEC, the European Commission, the Insurance Europe plays a role, and of course, last but not least, the CoB Council of Bureau. So the UNEC in 1949 had the idea, after the Second World War, that something needs to be done in order to facilitate transport, in order to make it easier from an economical standpoint to travel across the European continent. When they were thinking about Europe, they were thinking about Europe as a continent. They did not think about political Europe. They did not think about, you know, separation or together. No, they just thought about a continent, Europe, which means this system should have been open to everyone, to all the states that wanted to join this system. And so it happened. Be it western part of Europe, be it eastern part of Europe, it didn't matter. It was just the idea to join this system sooner or later. You see, and this is very important, the system, the Green Card system, is not a European system in the sense of EEA states. It's a European system in the sense of Europe as a continent. We have, of course, now, in the meantime, also the European Commission that plays a big role by setting rules, by setting MIDs, and you as a candidate to join the European Union in a few years, you of course know about all these so-called motor insurance directives, MID, which are very, very important on the sector of MTPL insurance. And of course, if you look at the map of the Green Card system, you see that the EEA is part of it. So we have, of course, influence of all these European directives on what we are doing. But this is very important. What we are doing in the Green Card system is not European law in the sense of EEA law. It is really wider than this. So we are influenced by the directives. We have, of course, to take them into consideration. But it is not the fact that the European Union is responsible to interpret our rules, our internal regulation, our contracts. There is still a big difference, but both types going hand in hand. We have Insurance Europe. Insurance Europe is the European head organization of all the insurance associations in the EEA, and also they are open for membership of others, so also of possible candidates. You know, now they open themselves for Ukraine as affiliated members, so it's a bit like they also see themselves, of course, as a lobby organization for the interest of insurance business, but also they see themselves even a bit wider already than only EEA states. And Insurance Europe, of course, as a lobby organization, as an organization that defends interest of the entire insurance industry, also plays a role because they influence what the European Commission is doing, and they also influence, of course, EIOPA, which I'm not there to mention here. And then we have the CoB. CoB, Council of Bureau, Green Card System, you all know it. And the CoB, of course, is the umbrella organization of all the Green Card bureaus. So we are somehow the guardians of the Green Card system, and our organization allows everyone who belongs to this system to travel in the system without problems when it comes to insurance. And during the last years, because I told you it all started for economy reasons, it more and more and more was transformed into a protection of victim schemes. Because what is insurance and why do we need insurance cover? We need it in order to protect victims. Of course, you would like to make money. It's not, you know, I do not want to discuss this because it's clear everyone would like to get some money out of insurance business as well, no doubt. But when it comes to MTPL insurance, it is about victim protection. Everyone who has an accident should be protected everywhere in the entire Green Card system, and that's exactly what we are doing. And if I say we, who are we? The CoB is a private non-profit organization established in Brussels. Why Brussels? Here again, you know, in order to be closer to the European Commission, in order to have more contact and more knowledge about the latest plans, because as I told you before, there is of course somehow always an influence on what the European Commission has decided of motor insurance. We have a presidential college founded by one president and two vice presidents. Currently the vice presidents are originating from Romania and from Morocco. We have two managing directors in Brussels in our head office. And of course we have the staff members. One is here, Theo. He will follow my presentation and inform you about very interesting, in my opinion, technical developments. We have a supervisory board chaired by the president and founded by delegates from our so-called regional groups. You know, we have We are a big, big, big organization when you look at the map, and we have regional groups. Regional groups send delegates, and one of the delegates, you may know it or not, but anyhow, is sitting here in front of me, because Alina Uzianu, she is one of the delegates in our supervisory board, so she is a member of the supervisory board. She is also chair of one of our most important committees, of the internal regulation committees, so thank you very much for your commitment. And the Internal Regulation Committee, like other committees, has a responsibility to deal with certain things like changing rules, discussing whether this is still appropriate rules or not, and so on. And also these committees are founded by the delegates of the regional groups. From time to time, the committees think, oh, that's a bit tricky, complicated, so they found sub-working groups, which means if you have a special problem, then you discuss it in the sub-working groups. But first of all, and this is our basis democracy we would like to have in our system, and we can say it's improving, of course, also triggered by the fact that more and more the meetings can be held online. Instead of always have the need to meet for 1 hour meeting, usually you do it online today, we have the regional groups where all the discussions should start and everything that is decided should be reported to. So that's how we are organized. You can see it like a pyramid or a triangle with, you know, communication everywhere. That's our idea. The good old days, until 2020, so you see in the middle of the start of the pandemic, we had members in the Council of Bureau in our organization. These members have been all the green card bureaus. But we also have had the guarantee funds, the compensation bodies, the information centers, which have been all based and founded based on the so-called fourth directive, not the guarantee funds, but the cross-border role they had to play also started with the so-called fourth directive in 2003. And since then, the CoB offered some secretarial service. But you know, this service moved into something else. It moved more and more and more into the direction that the CoB was also taking responsibilities for these organizations. And then at a certain moment, we as guarantee funds and compensation bodies remember the slogan from the past, no taxation without representation, because we had to finance the CoB, but we had no word on elections. We had nothing to say as guarantee funds and compensation body. This we wanted to change. We started a revolution, and finally it ended up in the situation that since 2020, not only the green card bureaus, but also the guarantee funds and or compensation bodies are members in the organization CoB, so we have more members now, and the members have functions. It could happen, easily happen, that you have one organization that has one function, the function of a guarantee fund. It also could happen that you have one organization with all capacities, guarantee fund, compensation, green card bureau. We have green card bureaus and compensation bodies as a combination, or we have guarantee funds and compensation body as a combination. So the members as such are the organizations, and the functions can differ. The information center, the database where all the information about insurance cover is stored. These information centers also are members in our organization in the meantime. And here it is also very important to stress that this membership is not only linked to EEA countries concerning the information centers. So if Moldova has already an information center here, which means a database where you can find all the information about the insurance cover, you could already join this information center agreement, and in so far also then as an affiliated member can become, you are already member as a green card bureau in our system, become member as an information center. Why are these, why is it important? Because we have a future in front of us, and the future could even go into the direction that we will grow again. Why? You may have heard about the insolvency bodies, which should go to start end of this year. Insolvency bodies in the EEA mean we have in the future bodies who are responsible to compensate victims in case of insolvency, and to compensate victims in case of cross-border accidents when the accident was caused by an insolvent insurance company. So this is not really entirely new, but it's something which is the first time foreseen for the entire EEA in the same framework. In the past, current state is that we have insolvency bodies in really most of the member states, and they also cooperate cross-border, so it's not that if there is an insolvency that was caused by a company that has the first permission in another member state, that we do not have chance to be reimbursed, but this all depends on private agreements which have been concluded already under the umbrella of the CoB. In the future, it is an institutional thing, which means we have to have insolvency bodies, we need to have agreements in place till 23rd of December. What a nice date. It's first of all a Saturday, secondly one day before Christmas, but anyhow, so that's the moment where all the signatures need to be done. If this should not be achieved, we will come to so-called delegated acts. Delegated acts are something where you say, okay, it's not us, it's not a private agreement, it's like a decree from the state, and here it's like a decree from the European Commission. We know already that we have to wait for this delegated act at least 1 year, which means the whole mechanism of protection of victims will be postponed. If we should not be successful, for the moment, unfortunately, it seems to be the case that some member states are not even implemented in time all the rules, and it was said Solvency II regulation, be aware that it takes time to implement it. And I can confirm, we had 2 years, all the member states had 2 years, they knew for 2 years what they have to implement, and so far some of them still failed. The home country principle, and this is perhaps the most problematic point for some member states, means you have a company allowed by your national supervisory authority to act. And then this company decides to also start business in other EEA member states, which means they have still the permission from the home country, the first country of permission. And then, you know, the other supervisory authorities just have to give permission to also act in the market. They can't stop this activity. This is foreseen because we are one market in Europe, etc. But in case of insolvency, it is the responsibility of the first, of the home supervisory authority. And then it was seen very logical that you say, okay, so if this supervisory authority fails, it is up to this market to pay the final bill. That's the home country principle. So it's always the market where the first permission was given to an insurance company to act, and if it's only FOS or FOE activity, then this market finally can send a reimbursement demand to the other market. That's the home country principle, and that's the basic principle for these new insolvency bodies. And we don't know if at a certain moment they will become member in our organization or not, because many members also will have this function, but not all of our members. We also will have external standalone insolvency bodies. The green card, you know that our system started with this, what you see in front of you, a green paper. Very special green, by the by, so very, very unique green, but anyhow, green paper. So far, so good. Of course, at a certain moment, we also decided that perhaps it's better not to go for this green paper any longer, but to agree that the registration plate is already sufficient proof to have insurance cover when you cross a border. And it was also mentioned this morning, and I only can underline, of course, it is less complicated if you do not need a green card, but you simply have a registration plate that allows you to enter other states. And you know it, there are more and more states joining the so-called MA agreement or Section 3 of the internal regulation, which means that the registration plate as such is already the guarantee that this vehicle seems to be insured. There are cases where it is not the case, where the vehicle is still uninsured, but then the guarantee of the bureau applies. And this, of course, is less complicated and less complex than to go for a green card. Anyhow, so far we have still green cards in our system. We still have members who most of the time because they would not go for a single premium with this precondition to join this MA, who insist on having the green card. You may also have heard that the green card is no longer green, but we turned it already into white. Why? Because we wanted, of course, first of all, allow the insurance companies to send the green card via PDF or via email to the customers, because you in the meantime don't send paper to the customers, you just send emails, online, whatever, and then this green card you still have to send as a paper. Anyhow, the paper still needs to be printed. So far, you are not allowed to use a green card that is not printed on paper, even though the paper can be white. But of course, this can't be the last step, it's only the first step. What we would like to achieve at a certain moment, and even this is not the final step, is this. What does it mean? It means we have 2 border control authorities, and between them there is a database, data exchange between them. And we know that some members already started such projects. It's Turkey and Azerbaijan. And what happens? If you sit in a Turkish car crossing the border of Azerbaijan, there is a camera check. The camera just checks your registration plate. They give it to the database. The database goes back to Turkey. Turkish database confirms, yes, for this vehicle we have a cover for the territory of Azerbaijan. So they replace the green card, the paper, already by this confirmation, which means you then have the confirmation, yes. Yes means vehicle is insured for Azerbaijan, or you receive a no. A no means stop this vehicle, it has no insurance, so please do something. So this is the project. Sounds very good, sounds very promising, sounds also not so complicated, but it requires that you have a database for green card cover still. If you simply need one database for registration plates, it's easier. If you need registration plate and a second layer for the green card, it's already, again, a bit more complicated. Anyhow, that's what we would like to achieve. Why? Because vehicles are computers with 4 wheels in the meantime. This is what a vehicle looks like already today. And you may also have heard about this fight about the data. So in Europe, not only in Germany, but also in Germany, insurance companies are so keen on having, on having all the data, the in-vehicle data for them, for their purposes. Their purposes go really like, okay, pay as you drive, that's something which is already used, but also they would like to have the data in case of a damage, in order to bring the vehicle in their repair garage, in order, of course, to save some money, also to save some time, in order to give a better service to their customers. So it's all about the data, in-vehicle data. Unfortunately, the manufacturers, they also are keen on receiving these data, and they don't want to share these data. So that's why step by step they now try to reach agreements with the car manufacturers in order to have clear, black and white, that they are allowed to share these data, whereas from time to time it seems to be forgotten that the data first of all belong to the owner of the vehicle. So when you follow these discussions, it's really interesting to see that this from time to time is a bit ignored. Anyhow, data are the new gold, the new oil, the new whatever, and this also applies for insurance business. For us in the CoB, we would like to protect the victims still. This is perhaps not so important, because if the insurer, the casco insurer, is able or not to send someone into the own repair shop or not, that's not important. What would be for us the vision we have? What is the most important for victims? Think about the poor crying victim, no idea what to do. Wouldn't it be ideal if you have an accident and immediately 2 minutes after you have had the accident, you have a screen in your vehicle or on your smartphone showing you, okay, the other vehicle is insured at this company, and if this company is not a domestic company but somewhere abroad because it's a foreign vehicle, then you also have the data of the correspondent who is responsible in the country where the accident took place. You will have the data if it's a fourth directive claim of the claims representative. So you know everything within, let's say, maximum 5 minutes. And then even ideal, you can send, you just take some pictures and you send it directly to the responsible entity that then immediately can start to deal with your claim. This would be really a big benefit and advantage for the claimants, and that's what finally we would like to achieve at a certain day. But I'm afraid this day is still far away, because when you look into the national legislations, and that's also a reason why not even today we are able to say, okay, just present your PDF green card on a screen of your smartphone. We have so many obstacles. It starts with the national legislation, paper is mentioned, or the wording hand over is mentioned. Can I really hand over a smartphone, or doesn't it, isn't it necessary to have a paper? Official bodies have no technical equipment, because when we think about PDF, you think also about QR codes from time to time. Yeah, but what to do if a policeman is not able to read your QR code? Then it does not help you to tell him, but here, it's my QR code, it's my insurance certificate. So that's a problem. Data protection, it was also mentioned today. I think it was Veronica who mentioned data protection. Data protection is always to be taken into consideration, always important, but still, the problem is you can't stop everything with the data protection. So we always have to find a very good balance. This is our system when you think about different levels of technical development for the moment. Unfortunately, I have to say, usually it's the other map. Here you see parts, whereas the parts are taken by chance, so it was just their snapshot. But anyhow, this is how we look like when we think about technical levels for the moment. We hope we will come back to another level. Anyhow, our system, unfortunately, also was looking like this 1 year ago. The war in the Ukraine. When it started, of course, it was the biggest challenge, I would say, we ever faced. Perhaps it's not entirely correct, because also the war of Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, was something which was challenging our system. But at those days, I did not work for the system, so I can say this was the biggest challenge we had so far, at least what concerns myself. Our problem was we have had the war between members. So Russia, started attacking Ukraine. Of course, this was a problem, a moral problem. It was a problem for many members, because we have also here different, and now it comes back to politicians, we had different political levels. Even if every one of the colleagues was absolutely agreeing that this war is a war, first of all, is a scandal, etc., they haven't been all in the same position just to say, okay, so let's do something. Politically, we have a diverse system. It's not a unique system, and we had to take it into consideration. Anyhow, remember, we are established in Brussels, and there have been sanctions in place. Sanctions against Belarus, sanctions against Russia. And we as organization established in the European Union have to comply with these sanctions. And, we didn't have any choice. It's not that we could make a choice, okay, we would like to follow this sanction, but this sanction is to be ignored. No, we simply had to follow the sanctions, and we followed them very closely. And at a certain moment, it started winter last year, in November, or even autumn, we came to the conclusion, okay, so, it comes closer and closer. And most probably, as an organization, we at a certain moment have to react on these sanctions, and we have to do something in order to save our system. Because if we would have been in breach of these sanctions, then we as a system, as an association, would have also had different type of trouble, but a lot of trouble and problems, and most probably at a certain moment, they would have simply told us it's forbidden to continue your business. Can you imagine what this would have meant for all the persons who rely on traveling in the system? It was really, really a big problem. So it ended up this summer that we really had to suspend the membership of Russia and Belarus, with the consequence the internal regulations do no longer apply. Because if a member is suspended, it is as if membership is frozen on ice, They are still members in the organization, but you can't consider them being a member. when it comes to the contracts, when it comes to the internal regulation. Of course, we knew it was very problematic, but again, as an organization, we haven't seen any other possibility to still react and to cope with this situation. The green cards are no longer valid, independent from the dates. We know that there are still green cards circulating with a longer validity date. So most probably till the end of this year, for example. And it could easily have happened beginning of the year that an insurance company somewhere in the system issued a green card in the name of the bureau, valid till the end of this year. Okay, the problem of course is now they are no longer valid. But there is a customer, and this customer says, yeah, guy, come on, I have it here on my card, black and white, it's still valid, and at the border I was stopped and I had to conclude frontier insurance. What to do with it? It is an open question where we only can say it's something that needs to be really assessed by each company. It depends on whether you have extra premium or not. It depends on the contract. Most probably it was foreseen in the contract or not. So it's not that we have, unfortunately, one single solution for these type of problems. The runoff of the files, of the already open files, this should not be a problem. It was agreed that even though the internal regulation are no longer applicable, we will continue to do as if they are applicable for all the open files. And so far it works. From time to time there are problems when it comes to the payment, but these problems are much more related to the banks than to the bureaus involved. And of course we know that some market had the idea to conclude bilateral agreements, especially with the Russian bureau. And we have told them, you can do what you want, but please officially, so we can't help you, we can't support you, because that's exactly the problem that we have. But we know they negotiated, obviously, also these green cards, which still are valid for the date, are somehow considered being valid without being the real green card. So it's an interim solution. And we have also heard that Russia starts negotiations to create a so-called blue card system, which means they also would like, at least with the neighboring countries, still continue the idea of free movement. But everything is unofficial for the CoB, so it's for us also rumors. We have no clue at all because we are no longer involved. They are no longer members in the sense that we can take care about them or take care about them and their ideas. Ukrainian vehicles, of course, you know it. I have seen many of them during the last 2 days. They are insured either via a green card or frontier insurance. So these are the two options. And when it comes to the green cards, you all know it. Ukraine was able to provide these green cards and still is able to provide them online. Online means the client just contact the insurance company, they send the PDF, and here, I would say across Europe they made exceptions because these PDF green cards have still be accepted by the authorities, even though, as I told you, usually it's forbidden to only present them as an online format, PDF or whatever. Usually also the Ukrainian green cards need to be printed still. But here we see it also works differently, so that's why we also aim to go into this direction. And last but not least, just in order to complete it, we also unfortunately expect that beginning of next year, Iran as a member will also be suspended. Here we do not have these sanctions. No, here we have practical problems. Iran was no longer able to make payments, was no longer able to participate in the online platform that we have in the CoB, so they were simply not able to fulfill what members have to fulfill. Members have rights and obligations, and here they were not able to do it. We gave them some time to bring it in order to come back, so the running year is this period. Unfortunately, so far we have no positive signs, and to be honest, we are already in October, so I am unfortunately convinced by the beginning of January next year they will be suspended as well. I thank you very much for your attention so far. If you should have questions, of course, I stay during the next break. And yeah, Theo now will share with you more technical details than I did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra.